الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور انفسنا ومن سيئات اعمالنا من يهده الله فهو المهتد ومن يضلل فلا هادي له واشهد ان محمدا عبده ورسوله اما بعد اعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا ايها الذين امنوا قوا انفسكم واهلكم نارا وقودها الناس والحجاره عليها ملائكه غلاظ شديد لا يعصون الله ما امرهم ويفعلون ما يؤمرون. I just recited ayah number 6 of Surah Tahrim. It is Surah number 66 in the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is informing the believers, those of you who believe, all of us, inshallah, may Allah accept this Muslim. Save yourself, protect yourself and your family from fire. وَقُودُهُ النَّاسُ وَالْحِجَارَةُ, whose fuel is people and the stones. And upon it, there are very strong angels that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has appointed who do not deter away from their duty and their responsibility. And they do not disobey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, the clear meaning of this verse about the angels who are guarding over the hell is that they are responsible for punishing that around the law of the creation of Allah. And they do not hesitate in doing so. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, warning us that protect yourself, save yourself. So today I wanted to talk about and please forgive me, I'm just struggling to come up with this topic for this book, and I'm just struggling a lot. So I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for me to explain and for you to understand each other and benefit all of us, so that all of us can protect ourselves from inshallah. So the reason I chose this ayah was about it is the reason that we have to protect ourselves, save ourselves, secure ourselves spiritually and as a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as a servant of Allah, as a. So if you think about it in your life, like for example, I myself, I work in the information security field. My job, my sole responsibility is that when I come to my work, I protect my company from cyber attacks. Right? And there are many other others who do that. In the same way, when we talk about ourselves, our families and stuff, the moment we feel insecure, what do? We call 911, either for the police or the fire department or for the bullets or hospitals. So if we're so careful about our life, and this life is only temporary, doesn't it make sense for us to save ourselves, protect ourselves spiritually, and when it comes to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What do I mean by that? There are a lot of young brothers and sisters sitting over here. As a parent, I struggle a lot because our kids are exposed, not only our kids, even ourselves, when we go to work, and when we will live in this society, there are some things that we cannot avoid. I wish we could. I wish I could protect my son, my daughter, and all of you as much as I could, but we can't. Like, for example, when we talk about homosexuality, the LGBTQ movement that is going on, right? Where do we stand as Muslims? How scared are we to take a stand and clearly explain where we stand with that? Right? We're scared to talk about it because as soon as we say something, we're scared that we will be called homophobic. At the same time, because of U.S. government's involvement with Israel and Stephanie, subhanAllah, just today in Masjid al-Aqsa, because there was a small group of Muslim brothers and sisters who wanted to protest, do a peaceful rally right after Salatul Jummah, just like ours, in Masjid al-Aqsa, because there was a prior rally that defamed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to protect his honor and to protect the honor of Islam. They wanted to gather together. Guess what? Israeli forces came again in Masjid al-Aqsa, fired rubber bullets, the smoke bombs and stuff, stun bombs and stuff, and it started harming all our Muslim brothers and sisters again. How scared are we to talk against that injustice only because we know the FBI or some other government agency is looking at us, right? And this is the main point that I'm struggling with, to explain to you, how do we protect ourselves? We cannot be ostriches that as soon as at the first sight of trouble, we bury our heads in the sand and think that we're secure. We're not. And we cannot hide behind the disguise of religion, of Islam, saying, oh, well, I have nothing to do with it. What do I mean by that? Real quick. When we talk about ibadah in Islam, worship, what do we think ibadah is? First thing that comes to our mind is what? Salah, Siyam, Zakat, Hajj. Absolutely, they are, right? But how many, I personally know of so many people who either don't pray, or fast in Ramadan, or give Zakat, or have gone to Hajj, or have any desire of going to Hajj. But at the same time, on the other spectrum, know many people who never miss a Salah in Masjid, but they're the people who are cheating the system, not paying Zakat, getting paid under the table for whatever reason. And I'm not here to judge them and condemn them or do anything like that. But what I'm trying to explain is that when we talk about ibadah, when we need to save ourselves, we need to do ibadah for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That concept of ibadah is not just some rituals that we need to do on daily basis, like 5 daily salah. Don't get me wrong, without salah, none of us will enter into Jannah. Even there's a hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam who mentioned that in Jahannam, some of the last people who will be left, Muslims who will be left in Jahannam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will order the angels to go look for those people who have athar sujud, the marking of sajda on their heads or on their ankles, and bring them up to Jannah. Right? First question we will be asked about our life in this dunya on the day of judgment will be about salah. If we offer our salah, why is salah so important? It is important because this is a daily reminder. The first thing we get up in the morning, what we want to do is pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and salatul fajr. We're fighting against our nafs. We're reminding ourselves that we are the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Nothing can happen to us without the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we are showing our obedience to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's why we're getting up on the cold night during the cold winter days, making wudu, and it is so difficult to do that. But we want to show our dedication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But that's only one form of dedication. The other part, which most of us miss, including myself, is that now that I have offered this salah, what is my responsibility? What is the reason for this salah? The reason behind that salah was so that now I think about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala throughout the day, throughout my dealings with the people. Now that I go, I have offered Salatul Fajr. I don't go and start, what breakfast I'm about to eat must be halal. The talks that are words that are coming out of my mouth should be in accordance with Islam, in accordance with Quran and Sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I shouldn't be cheating. I shouldn't be backbiting. I shouldn't be harming other people. That is the concept of ibadah or salah in Islam, right? I don't think about it. What's the difference between our rituals and the rituals of people who go to the church next door? According to their religion, they have to go pray on Sunday. They do that. That's their ritual. I'm not talking about the difference between the rituals. I'm saying that they have ibadah, so do we. But what makes our ibadah any different? Other than the fact, you can clearly come and say that because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says so in the Quran and the Sunnah. Absolutely, Allah does that. So they have their book too. According to their book, this is what they believe in, that's what they do. The difference between ibadah in Islam and any other religion is that what we do after our rituals. If my rituals are not correcting me and putting my behavior, my actions in accordance with Quran and Sunnah, then I have missed the boat. I have missed the teachings of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's one aspect. The second aspect about ibadah, and this is why I was struggling so much with, like, yes, we have to pray. I mean, these 5 pillars that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has told us about our Islam is based on 5 khamsa, right? The 5 pillar bunyan is Islam al-Khams, like pillars. The foundation of Islam is on 5. Those are 5 rituals, but don't think that that's it. That's the foundation. That means once you have that strong foundation, you have to build on top of that. When you're building a house, you just don't dig into the ground and just make a strong foundation. You build walls on it, you build floors on it, you build roof on it. In the same way, we have a responsibility, and our responsibility is whenever we see anything good, we make sure that we're part of it. And whenever we see anything wrong, we make sure that we're standing against it. It doesn't matter how it affects me today or not. So when Israelis, the occupiers, these Walimun are coming and destroying our brothers and sisters, we should be the one in forefront of this fight. That's part of my ibadah. When people are coming and standing and talking about LGBTQ rights and stuff like that, that's perfectly fine. As human beings, everyone has rights, and I support their rights. I don't support their actions, but I support their rights because they're human beings. Why is it so difficult for us to stand up and explain that in a public gathering or in front of our family also, or be able to explain that to our children? People, I mean, for the love of God, think about Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Well, right before he became the prophet, what happened? He was known as Sadiq al-Amin. Every single person, whenever they had any dispute, who would they go to? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If they needed to trust someone, not their own brother, but someone else who they could really trust, who would they go to? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Right? The moment he became prophet, the moment he talked about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what happened? Same people started attacking him. So don't think that being the abd of Allah, the slave of Allah, is an easy task. The moment you mention La ilaha illallah, everything you can possibly think of could go wrong, will go wrong. But that shouldn't deter us. That's not our problem. That's not what we should be thinking about. What we need to think about is, number one, what is it that my Islam requires of me? What is it my Lord, my Master, my Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala requires of me? And I stick to that in the right way. So first of all, I need to know what Allah demands of me as His slave. When I say I'm a Muslim, I need to know what that means. Secondly, once I have known that, I have to stick to that. Then the consequences, forget about what is going to happen to us. If I stick to my principles, you have a responsibility. Now that you know who Allah is, what your responsibility is, you have to stick to it. Don't worry about what will happen, because the one who can harm you, they are controlled by same who controls me, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. No one can harm me, because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Ibn Abbas, One day that if all of the humanity and all of the things were to gather together to benefit you, but Allah wished otherwise, no one can benefit you. And if everyone together to harm you, and if Allah wanted to benefit you, no one can harm you. This realization, this yaqeen, we must have in our hearts. And once we have that, when you know that Allah is the one who is in utmost and complete control, then your fear goes away. Then your ibadah starts making sense. Now you know when you stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you say, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, all praises are for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is the master of all the universes. You realize that since He is the master, He controls everything. Think about it. I'll give you just one small example real quick. Sorry. I'll give you one example real quick. There are multiple examples from our history, but I'll just take one very simple example, which I think almost every one of us know, and it will fit into this narrative really well, inshallah. Right when Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam declared Islam, right? Other than his immediate family, who accepted Islam? No one. Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu and few people that he brought in. For first 3 years or so, hardly 10 people or so accepted Islam, adults. Then as the time passed by and his da'wah became more public and stuff, what happened? Yes, very few people were attracted to Islam, and they were sincere enough that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided them to Islam, right? As soon as that happened, when Quraysh saw this threat, they were few in number, maybe 20 or 30 people, and most of them were slaves. Why did Quraysh freak out? Why did they started torturing Bilal radiallahu anhu and Khabbab radiallahu anhu and every other Muslim? Even Uthman radiallahu anhu, Zubayr radiallahu anhu, all their family members tortured them. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided them to truth, and because of that truth and knowing and understanding that truth, they knew what they needed to do, and it was them challenging the status quo. And as soon as that happens, like I mentioned, everything wrong that could possibly happen happened to them. And then fast forward a few years, you have like about 60 people or so who migrated over to Abyssinia. After you fast forward another 6-7 years or so, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam included, they all migrate to Medina. You have altogether about 80 people or so who migrate to Medina, or 100 people. A small number. What happens then? Right after that, Badr happens, everyone is gathering together to harm them, then Uhud happens, then the Khandaq happens, there are like 10,000 people. All of the Arabs are gathering together to attack Muslims and stuff, and they don't even have enough food to eat, like Rasulullah said, like Jewish ones said. His stomach, right? So does his companions. And then fast forward when Rasulullah has taken over the whole Arabian Peninsula and he passes away. All of these people who accepted Islam, most of them committed apostasy. A lot of false prophets came out. A lot of people went back to the Jahiliyyah. Some declared that we're not going to pray. Some said we're not going to pay zakat. In the end, if you look at it analytically, honestly, only Medina and Mecca were the two cities that were left to Islam out of the whole Arabian Peninsula, and everyone gathered together to attack Muslims at that time. SubhanAllah, think about what Abu Bakr Siddiq radiallahu anhu went through at that time as a Khalifa. And when people like Umar radiallahu anhu said, maybe you should change the general of the Muslim army who was going and fighting the Byzantine, from Osama radiallahu anhu, who was only like 16 years old, he stood firm and said, no, absolutely not. Who appointed him? Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I would never change a single thing that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam ordered. And then after that, when people start committing bid'ah, and they said, we're not going to pay zakat, we're not going to pray salah, he said, I will fight with you. I will consider you non-Muslim, because this is what you used to do during the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and I will never, ever allow anyone to change anything about Islam as long as I'm alive. So when the rest of Arabia came, the rest of the world, it seemed, came down on the head of Abu Bakr Siddiq, what did he say? Hasbi Allah la ilaha illa huwa alayhi tawakkaltu wa huwa rabbul arshil azim. Allah is enough for me. What's the worst that could happen? Ibn Taymiyyah, when the Mongols came and attacked and he went and talked to Tamerlan, he yelled at him and he put him in his place, and people were like, he's going to get, like, people around him started covering up their garments. because that he is about to be beheaded and the blood is going to come on us. And when he kept on talking, him and Sa'id ibn Jubayr, rahimahullah, and so many other scholars in the history, when you see when they go in front of the tyrants and when they're talking, they're sticking to their path and what is right. They're not scared. Why? Because Sa'id ibn Jubayr and Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah, subhanAllah, they said, even the centuries apart, I looked at him, I looked at the ruler, and then I thought about it. He's sitting on this throne, and compare this throne to the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You guys remember last week what Faizan mentioned? This first heavens is like a ring in front of the second heaven in a vast desert. So on and so forth until the throne of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or the kursi of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they said, when we thought about that, it made me more angry. How dare this tyrant sit here and terrorize people? What are they going to do? Kill me? I'll be shaheed. Exile me? I'll be a muhajir. Imprison me? Alhamdulillah, I will spend time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I mean, subhanAllah, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah wrote about 40 books from his memory when he was ill. As long as you have this love and the knowledge and yaqeen in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah has you covered. And that's how you secure yourself spiritually, that's how you secure your akhirah, and that's how you secure your dunya. For wallahi, once you have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as your supporter, you will never feel anything. I mean, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentioned in Surah Baqarah, right? I will test you with hunger and with your life and with your wealth and stuff. All of these things become so small when you put everything in the grand scheme of things. And what matters in the end is how we're living, how we're spending our life. And if our life is not in service of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and his creation, then it's a wasteful life. Repent to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and go back to doing what we were created for, seeking out for justice, worshipping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah. بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله أما بعد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. Brothers and sisters, please forgive me if I said something wrong, but knowing what is happening in the world around us, not only to, I mean, alhamdulillah, look how secure we are. Nothing is happening to us, alhamdulillah. But look at our brothers and sisters all over the world. And I'm not just talking about Muslims, I'm talking about everyone. Just make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that may Allah ease their suffering, inshallah, and may Allah allow us to be His sincere servants so that we can bring the message of Islam to the rest of the world the way Allah has intended us to do, so that, inshallah, on the day of judgment, we all can be part of those people who enter into Jannah bighayri hisab, without any accountability, inshallah, and in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions and Shahuda and the Siddiqun, inshallah. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إني كنت من الظالمين. Oh Allah, please help us and protect us. Let us be the true servant of yours, inshallah, so that you're proud to see us on the day of judgment. And on the day of judgment, let us all be amongst those people who are under the shade of your throne, inshallah, and enter us into Jannah, bighayri hisab, in the company of the Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Anbiya and companions of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Jazakumullahu khairan. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. Are we ready in the back? Very good. Allahu Akbar. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Brothers and sisters, as you leave the building, please remember that ILF and ICNA Chicago are trying to establish a seminary and institute in this facility in this center that involve the you can see all the construction that is going on and all of the plans that we have for yourself and find your people around you, inshallah, to invest in this center as well. And as a reminder, we have